My name is Mark Rauch, and I'd like to welcome you to the Asian Plastic News Conference. Let me just shortly introduce myself. I'm Mark Rauch, and I'm the CEO of Terra Barrier Films. First of all, I'd like to thank Annie Chan and Asian Plastic News for the invitation to this conference. Now shortly to myself, I'm coming from Terra Barrier Films. Terra Barrier Films basically is a company on Barrier Films, and it's a spin-off from A*STAR, the Agency for Science, Technology and Research in Singapore, which is a government-funded research agency. So we started off working on Barrier Films quite some time ago in 1999, and my partner Senthil Ramadas has been developing the technology during that period and further developed, and finally we spun out in 2009 with Terra Barrier Films with funding from Applied Materials. Basically, Senthil is the Chief Technology Officer, and he developed all the technologies. He has about more than 85 patents, and he has more than 20 years experience in vacuum and barrier technologies. So our initial goal with this company was to go for flexible OLEDs. And as you may know, flexible OLEDs require very high barrier properties of 10 to minus 6 grams per square meter per day. But unfortunately, that industry went down. There was a period where there was almost no OLED on the market. Only now, recently, it's coming back quite strongly back into the market. So when we started the company, we had to look for different technology where we can use our barrier films. So the next target was basically flexible solar cells. And flexible solar cells requires about 10 minus 4 grams per square meter per day barrier films. But that market also went down because of the Chinese who had spent a lot of money and set up large manufacturing lines. So the prices went down. So the new technologies, flexible solar cells, didn't have a chance. So again, we had to look for different technologies where we can apply our technology. So we expanded our technology to encompass food and medical packaging, which requires 1 to 10 minus 2 grams per square meter per day. So you can see a trend from 10 minus 6. We started off, we moved to 10 minus 4 business. That is now showing some signs of life coming to life. And now we are also moving into the food and medical packaging field. So for the food and medical packaging, we started off working on that a few years back, and since then we have been also following this conference and attending several times this Asian Plastic News Conference. We developed several technologies also for the food and medical packaging, and what we term as ultra-high barrier in the food and medical packaging, that is in the range of 10 minus 2. So you see, we start off with ultra-high barrier for electronics, which is 10 minus 6. But then when we move to packaging, ultra-high barrier means about 10 minus 2 grams per square meter per day. So we can cover, we have different technologies for different ranges. So one is basically where we have transparent barrier films, which is high barrier 10 minus 1 to 10 minus 2, which is transparent, and where there is no metal involved. So it's more flexible and less prone to cracks and pinholes compared to aluminum foil, but similar barrier properties like aluminum foil. So with that barrier films, we have the advantage that you can have the recycling is easier since there's no metal involved in the laminates, and also you can use RFID. So they're especially important for medical packaging. So for so we can use these barrier films also for, let's say, aluminum replacement market. The other technology is basically using just the nanoparticles as a sealing layer, where we remove the oxide layer. And with that, just the nanoparticles layer, we can go into the range of 1 grams to 0.1 grams. So with that, also we can have advantages over the oxide layer, since oxide layer also is prone to cracks and pinholes. So with our nano-sealing layer, basically we can have this advantage of more flexibility and less prone to deterioration, faster deterioration due to cracks and handling. So that is basically what we are doing. If you have interest in our technology, I'm happy to talk to you during the breaks. So let us move over to the conference. Today we have interesting program lined up. The first we will have Mr. Nikhil Malaban from Frost & Sullivan talking on new types of coatings and packages, and followed by Mr. Simon Clark from Clariant, who will be talking about turning more into less, which is quite an interesting topic I would feel. So after that we will have a lunch break. So let me introduce Mr. Nikhil Malaban. He's from Frost & Sullivan, and he's a senior consultant in chemicals, materials and food, and is working out from Kuala Lumpur. He has close to 7 years experience in this field, and his main role basically is consulting in the petrochemical sector. So his task basically involves technology due diligence, startups, identification, even investments, and strategic roadmap. He holds an MBA from Asian Institute of Management from Manila, the Philippines, and a bachelor degree in chemical engineering from Manipal University in India. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Nikhil Malaban.
Thanks, Mark, for that introduction, and good morning, everyone. Okay, so I'm going to spend a few minutes today to initially introduce my company, what we do, etc., and then talk about some interesting things that are happening in the field of packaging coatings, and most specifically in the FMCG industry when it comes to plastics, plastics packaging and certain other types of packaging. And the entire viewpoint of what we're going to be talking about a bit later is from the standpoint of certain small, very niche tech companies which are trying to make it big in the coatings industry. And they have found an outlet in the packaging industry for taking their company from zero to a $1 billion company, a $1 billion company. So that's a perspective that that we're trying to bring through as well, and that's because we've been doing some work with these startups which are manufacturing very specific types of coatings across various industries, but more specifically to the packaging industry. So that's going to be the gist of what I'm going to be discussing and talking about. I'm not going to be very technical because I think my perspective is that we look at what the industry is, what are the unmet needs, what is the requirements of the industry before we get a lot more into the chemistry and how the application is done exactly. So about Frost & Sullivan, we're a global consulting company. We have offices all around the world. We undertake various studies across consulting, market research, due diligence, M&A, etc. And the reason why we are able to deliver a lot of good insights is because we just don't focus on, let's take for example petrochemicals from the supply side. We try and tie them up with the various end-use industries. So we cover 12 industries, including automotive, ICT, amongst a host of others. And using those end-use industries as a basis, we try and develop, strategies for petrochemical companies, chemical companies, polymers, etc. So within that space, we do market entry product strategies, competitive assessments, market potential assessment. So initially we start with a lot of market assessment before we move into the business side of things, which is the planning, the strategic outlooks, a 10-year roadmap if required. So that's pretty much our market coverage, and the chemicals team has been rebranded as the Visionary Science Team because there's a lot more emphasis on innovation, on technology, on niche startups as well, so hence the rebranding. And within this team, we do a lot of research and consulting across a host of industries. So plastics and polymers, that's an industry that I track quite closely. Adhesives, sealants, packaging, performance materials, and we also have a separate food and beverage division. So when we talk about packaging in the food and beverage industry, we have experts who handle this food and beverage market, who are able to bring in those specific insights to suit your needs as a customer, as a solution provider. So that's a quick snapshot of who we are. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with global packaging coatings as a base, and then drill down a little bit more into a specific coating, which is slippery coatings, which has been making a lot of noise in the last couple of years, and see where does it fit in the packaging industry, especially in the FMCG industry, as well as in certain high value-added chemicals. I'll get to that in a bit. So, based on our research, the global packaging market was valued at about 2.3 billion in 2016, which is a huge market for coatings companies, which was approximately 1 million tons in volume. And the overall market is growing at about 5.5%, which is not too bad. It's quite robust. It's not like a lot of other commodity chemicals and petrochemicals, which is growing at a sluggish 1.5%, 2%. And within this packaging coatings, we see that coatings for flexible applications or flexible packaging applications not only accounts for the largest share, which is about 44%, but this particular segment is also growing at a much faster rate, higher than 5.5% CAGR. So we estimate this to be around 7.5 to 8%. So a lot of potential in the flexible packaging industry. And I was having a conversation with somebody else a while back, and they mentioned that it's a very complex industry to be in as well. So it is the largest and at the same time one of the most complex parts of the entire packaging chain. Rigid packaging has been under a little bit of pressure. I think it was the second largest with about 24% of the whole market share. And that's predominantly due to certain environmental constraints. And a lot of packaging companies are looking at more sustainable options, more recyclable options. And the reason why I mentioned sustainable and recyclable is because later on when I talk about slippery coatings, I'm going to be bringing in the value add addition of those types of coatings as well. And if I'm too fast or if I'm not coherent, please do stop me in the middle of my presentation as well. I just mentioned that it was a $2.3 billion industry, growing at about 5.5% to reach $3 billion. That's the whole coatings market, packaging coatings market. And while the market is growing quite robustly, innovation in this field of both packaging as well as coatings for packaging is growing pretty much side by side, and hence a lot of niche tech startups are trying to tap this potential. And one of the key things when coating manufacturers discuss certain technical details with packaging companies is how can the material be compatible with the substrate. Now, of course, a little while later we'll see the various parameters across coatings for plastics. But then this has been one of the main talking points: compatibility with the substrate, to ensure that the coating does not react with the plastic. And how can we reduce the cost of the plastic? Because there are some interesting insights that certain FMCG companies such as Unilever and P&G shared with us regarding their soaps and shampoos and certain other food products as well with respect to plastics. There are certain new types of packaging coatings that are being developed. There's a host of them. Some of them have been out there for a while, such as epoxy coatings, antimicrobial coatings, have been out there for a while. But they're still trying to find their feet as compared to certain other conventional coatings that are available. Silicone would be one of those more conventional coatings that's out there in the market. And each one of these coatings does have value addition in terms of certain functionalities and also certain parameters such as compatibility with the substrate, resistance to abrasion, so on and so forth. And finally, slippery coatings. It's an often used word in the coatings industry, but the product that I'm going to be talking about different from what the Axel Nobles and certain other companies have been talking about for a while now. So what is slippery coating? Let's define this first. So it's a multi-purpose coating to start with. Again, the entire perspective is from a couple of small tech companies which are trying to expand, and this is based on our due diligence of these companies over the last couple of years. It's a multi-purpose coating which goes into a variety of applications, including the marine industry, including the interiors of containers, especially plastic containers which have sauces, mayonnaise, and certain other types of dressing where at the end you're pretty much shaking the bottle or you're adding a little bit of water to empty the entire contents out. Some of us are not very particular about it, but a lot of us are, because at the end of the day, if you are paying $2 to $3 for a bottle of mayonnaise or whatever it is, you want to ensure that you are emptying out the entire contents of it. So basically, it's the coating which prevents any particle from sticking to the surface once it is applied to the substrate. That's how we define slippery coatings. Some key insights before we drill down a little bit. Currently, a lot of these niche slippery coatings are in the R&D phase. Some of them are in pilot testing, and to the best of my knowledge, there is only one company which has managed to make it into a commercial venture with another packaging company in the United States. And a lot of these companies which have started manufacturing slippery coatings have been initially funded by universities such as MIT and Stanford. That's where they all began. And today, while they have managed to find their feet a little bit, one of the key challenges is also the fact that there is a shortage of funding for these companies because the knowledge out there regarding these coatings is still quite limited. But in terms of growth, you're looking at a growth potential of more than 20%. Now, 20% is something that I just mentioned, but I know so that you don't fall off your chair, because later on certain growth numbers that I will be showcasing are quite on the higher side, and it makes for very interesting discussions to why are these coatings why are they growing so rapidly. What is driving them? Well, ease of application, higher consumer awareness. Now in the UK there was a survey done where most of the shoppers, most of the consumers of food and beverages said that they actually want to see the entire contents of their bottles of sauces or shampoos or whatever it is being completely emptied out. And this prompted a lot of coating companies to see how best could they work with plastic or packaging companies or FMCG companies to ensure that this happens. And what is the technical advantage? Well, anti-stick, that's a no-brainer. And it's food safe. So there's a particular oxygen to moisture barrier ratio that is being maintained, which makes it food safe. It's self-healing. So in certain applications where there is a certain amount of preparation, the coating is able to heal itself, and it's chemically stable. So it's not going to react with the substrate. I'm mainly mentioning this chemical stability over and over again because for companies like Unilever and P&G, this was one of the main concerns when they were using certain additives to bring in functionality such as the anti-dandruff part of it or the skin whitening part of it. So what are the unmet needs when we talk about FMCG packaging? The unmet needs, so pretty much spider chart going. So if there's any point that's on the outer periphery, which means that there is a high degree of unmet need at the moment. So slippery surface is one of the most important unmet needs that the industry is facing today. Now, all these data points that we have is through discussions with various FMCG companies, both in the Asia Pacific region as well as in Europe and in North America, because what we find is that by talking to just people in Asia Pacific, the entire picture is not clear, because APAC is generally a follower as compared to the US and Europe. So overall, slippery surface is still a highly unmet need at the moment. Feasibility of application, and at the same time, integrating this particular coating into the existing assembly line or your existing production line. Other packaging companies have established assembly lines. So integrating this new type of coating is another challenge that FMCG companies have highlighted, because that would automatically increase their cost, and there's only a certain amount of cost that can be passed on to customers in FMCG. Of course, when you talk about cosmetics, that's a completely different ballgame altogether, because you can pass on a lot of the cost to the end consumer. Similarly, and this is what I was talking about a while back, chemical stability and the cost of plastics. Now, the grade of plastics used is quite high today in the FMCG industry. So they use certain types of polyamides and nylons, and that is a lot more expensive as compared to certain other plastics such as LLDPE. And this is because of the functional additives that are used in, say, soaps and shampoos, which tend to react not just with the existing coating that is there inside the plastic bottle, but at the same time, some of them react with LLDPE itself. So by using polyamide for their packaging, their cost automatically increases by about 13 to 15%, because that's the price delta between LLDPE and polyamide 6 or polyamide 6.6, sometimes even higher. So these slippery coatings, when they were tested, okay, now again, all these are test results with both at the R&D phase as well as the pilot testing phase. None of them are exact proofs from commercial assembly lines. It was found that slippery coatings with their particular formulation, with their particular way of application as well, were able to withstand being chemically inert or chemically stable. They were able to withstand the reaction between those functional additives, and at the same time did not allow those functional additives to react with LLDPE, which is a cheaper plastic. So FMCG companies are saying that if this can be commercially proven and if this can be commercially used, then we are looking at a blockbuster product in the packaging industry. And at the same time, they are able to reduce their cost of packaging. So, but at the same time, we all know how sometimes FMCG companies, to maintain their profit margins, do tend to be a little bit well, sorry for using this word, but stingy in terms of passing on costs or not passing on costs. So even though by using slippery coatings, they would be able to save about 10% on their packaging cost, they are willing to pay only an additional 3 to 5% premium for this new kind of coating. So which means that the remaining 5% could be additional profit margin, to say so. So that's where this product is in the FMCG, soaps and shampoos industry, and the same analogy can be used for sauces, mayonnaise, and other types of food products as well, which require a lot of shaking before you empty it out onto your plate. But there's another industry application which is equally interesting, which is the high value added chemicals and pesticides, which do tend to get used in a lot of, which do tend to get packed in a lot of plastic containers, again high value plastic containers. And the most important criteria in this is the performance against abrasion. Now first things, I think I jumped a bit. High value added chemicals and pesticides are considered to be products which are valued at more than $1,000 to $1,200 per kg. So these are very, very expensive products that we're talking about. And the end user is very, very, very particular about ensuring that all the contents of this particular pesticide or chemical is completely emptied out. So that's the underlying narrative throughout this entire presentation, as well as in this product, about ensuring that everything is emptied from the container. The challenge in this particular application is also the regulatory approval costs. Now, while it may look a bit lower in the overall spider chart, but when we move from region to region, when chemical to chemical, there are certain costs that are incurred in getting these products approved. Now, it doesn't have to be food safe, it doesn't have to be, anything which is over the top. But then the kind of regulatory environment that exists in say, high volume countries like China and India, it's still considered to be a barrier for these new kinds of coatings that can be used in high value added chemicals and pesticides. A little bit more about the end user ratings, because like I said, a lot of these insights come from the end users, so chemical companies like BASF and Dow Chemicals who have also invested in some of these smaller coating companies. So all of them have said that, look, of course the high priority is that these coatings have to be completely unreactive to the chemicals. You cannot have even the minutest amount of contamination or of any kind of drop in specifications to say so. So that's the high priority that they're looking at. Medium high priority would be from a more environmental perspective, which is to maximize solid content, to eliminate any volatile organic compounds that could be prevalent, and at the same time to deliver a pretty uniformly thin layer to maintain the functional performance. And a medium priority is the slipperiness of the internal surface. At the moment, yes, we think that this is medium priority. This has also been validated and verified by chemical companies. But we believe that as and when companies make that shift from commodity chemicals to a lot more to specialty chemicals, where the value of the chemical increases and the price of the chemical increases, this medium priority could end up being a high priority requirement in the near future. So we're looking at pesticides, specialty chemicals, and they perform high performance building exterior paints and emulsions, and certain petroleum products. Now, having looked at all these drivers, having looked at all these unmet needs of the industry, we're going to look at what kind of potential does this slippery coating have in the near future. Oh, before that, we need to compare slippery coatings with others, because I can't keep talking about slippery coatings and singing phrases about it without comparing it to certain other types. So initially we spoke about 3 to 4 different types of coatings. So when we compare slippery coatings on a technical basis versus these other 4, and this is not, we are not doing any testing over here. This is again through discussions and seeing a lot of lab reports, test reports, etc. That slippery coatings tends to score higher in most categories as compared to certain other alternative coatings such as silicone coatings or epoxy coatings. And at the same time, this product is not that much more expensive as compared to the existing coatings that are there in the market. So from a commercial point of view, it is priced very similarly. It's got more functional properties, more functional benefits as compared to silicone coatings or epoxy coatings, even antimicrobial coatings for that matter. And at the same time, if there's any drawback, there has to be a drawback to this particular product as well. It is the fact that the companies manufacturing this are still very, still in a very startup kind of phase. They're looking for funding. There is no established supply chain networks around the world, and so these deter such companies in making it out there commercially and making it big. But at the same time, if certain criteria were met, which is if there was funding from the BASF or the ExxonMobil, and if certain companies allow these slippery coatings companies to use their existing supply chains, then we're looking at fantastic growth rate for these companies in the packaging industry. Again, this is very, very specific to the FMCG packaging industry. So we expected, last year we expected this product to get commercialized to a certain degree in 2017. And by 2020, we expect this to grow from a close to $3 million product to a $21 million product which represents a fantastic growth rate of about 67%. And this is predominantly going to be driven by soaps and shampoos, certain types of thick sauces. And initially, we did not see a lot of this growth coming in from emerging Asia Pacific, maybe Japan and Korea, yes, but not so much from Southeast Asia, China or India. Because US and Europe will be the front runners for adopting this product and pushing this out to the rest of the world. Similarly, when we talk about in the high value added chemicals market, we expect it's going to take slightly longer as compared to FMCG companies for this to get commercialized. So our hunch was that 2018 would be a year when slippery coatings for high value added packaging chemicals would be commercialized with a value of about $5 million, growing to about, again, $20 million by 2021. So again, 61% growth rate, pretty much unheard of in most commoditized industries. But again, when we look at the difference between FMCG and high value added chemicals is the ability to pass on their cost. FMCG companies find it difficult to pass on costs to the end customers when they incur certain additional costs in packaging or in using some of these coatings. Whereas in high value added chemicals, when you are paying $1,000 per kg, it's not going to make any difference to you if you're going to spend $1,010 or $1,015 per kilogram of that particular product. So price sensitivity is a lot lesser in high value added chemicals as compared to FMCG. And but at the same time, there is a lot more exhaustive testing in this particular industry because of the fact that the reactiveness of these coatings needs to be completely understood and completely certified before it can be used in these high value added chemicals. So after we look at the market, I'm just going to leave you with the top 3 takeaways for this particular coating. When we look at packaging in general, like I mentioned, developed nations, Europe, North America will be the first to adopt this. And there is, apart from packaging, standard packaging, this can also be used across various types of packaging, not just rigid packaging, but also flexible and others. And it's a good alternative to have certain standard packaging coatings that are out there in the market. And it's a coating which is not that expensive. It's pretty much priced at, on par with the existing products. Well, if you have certain growth drivers, you will have certain challenges, and like I mentioned, these companies are small in size, looking for funding. In fact, last year when we were doing due diligence for these companies, the end objective was to see whether we can get some funding for these companies as well. Global supply chains are not in place, and in all probability, what we have also observed is that because there is so much of value in this technology, companies like BASF or AkzoNobel or Dow Chemicals would be more than willing to spend a few $1 million to buy up this technology. So, while these companies require funding, at the same time they are at risk of being bought out, but the investors will be happy, the founders of the company are going to be happy, but then, well, the brand name or this particular entity will then cease to exist. The advantage is finally, it has the ability to reduce the cost of the plastic used in FMCG, very, very important. It's able to meet almost all the current technical parameters that are out there, which have been set. And finally, zero wastage. There's a lot of talk around the world about zero wastage, and here you have a product which can actually achieve that. So, from an environmental perspective, from a social perspective, and from a commercial perspective, we believe that these new age coatings would be driving the packaging industry, or the coatings for the packaging industry in the near future, over the next 5 to 10 years, if not more. So that's my short presentation about slippery coatings in the packaging industry. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you very much for very interesting presentations. Please, any questions?
So there are 3 companies which are still moving from R&D testing to pilot phase. There's only one company which is commercially taken it to the next level, and it's already implemented its packaging, its coating system on the assembly line of packaging company in the United States.
Which is not really commercial, and you mentioned also, is the price actually is lower in the high value add packaging
Right.
as compared to FMCG.
Right.
But since the value add packaging has low sensitivity,
Another advantage of liquid master batches is the precise dosage. Granules can be interlocked or get stuck in the feeder, resulting in
But because there are already certain existing coatings that are out there in the market. The main issue is you have a set assembly line with a particular way of coating the container. Okay. Now, slippery coatings cannot be applied in the same manner as the existing coating. So integrating this particular form into the existing production line is a challenge, and it is a cost which is sometimes, we say that maybe the company which is manufacturing the coating should bear an initial upfront cost. But since these companies are so small, they're already looking for money. So then, will a plastic container manufacturer be willing to invest, for this assembly line? Or if the FMCG company which is buying this plastic container finally, if it can realize that, okay, when we do a cost-benefit analysis, we pay 5% premium for the product, we invest say X thousand or X $100,000 for integrating this into our system, and we end up using a cheaper plastic at the end of the day. Does the cost-benefit work out? So can the FMCG company then invest? So integrating the coating system into the assembly line is the main challenge. And secondly, there is a certain amount of lack of knowledge in the overall packaging industry as well. Because when we did discuss this product with Unilever, P&G, and certain other brands, they said, look, we've heard of slippery coatings, this is our version of slippery coatings, but then that wasn't exactly what the coatings that we were studying was matching. So there was a mismatch in the knowledge as well. So it's going to take a lot of marketing efforts from the coatings companies to get this product out there. And there are people like us who do the due diligence and look for partners as well. So we expect maybe in the next 2-3 years, we will be seeing a lot more commercial manufacturing and commercial integration of these coatings.
so what key takeaway from what you
เตรียมมันวิ่งมาช่วงปลายๆ
implementation is not easy.
ช่วง8 คลิปอะ
Even machinery and existing machinery is
Correct, correct,
super complex.
exactly.
plastic is a giant recyclable mechanical formula.
And the second question that I need to introduce, because I'm from the after
Moves away as the
Right.
plastic
quite
in combination with the liquid carrier.
so that the coating can still be done in normal way, normal.
I'm not too sure about that because we didn't study whether this coating can be used along with a polymer. All we did was see whether it can be applied on a polymer to see whether it's got that stickiness or anti-stick or whatever the things. But it's something that I can definitely look at, and since I have your business card, I can get back to you regarding this particular query of yours, if that's okay.
Maybe I missed it out. How would the coating be applied? Would it be sprayed or?
It would be spray coating, but then there are certain, based on the videos that the company shared, etc., there are certain technical parameters that are different from the existing spray coating systems that are present in assembly line systems. And that is because of the chemistry that is involved in making these particular slippery coatings. From what I understand, there are particular, underlying lubricating layers. Then there are 2 other layers on top of this in that particular coating in terms of chemistry. So the way in which it is sprayed or the way in which it gets coated is a little different as compared to the existing ones, and hence they are finding it difficult to sell this idea to an FMCG company or to a plastic manufacturing company.
Okay.
just ask a question. So you mentioned that the slippery coating is trying to get everything out. But if you see the packaging shapes and forms what is being used, actually I think the function is more to keep more inside so they can sell more. For example, like the toothpaste, it's very difficult to get everything out, right? Even though you have slippery coating. So there's actually two contradictory sort of movements. One to make it more difficult to get everything out, but the other hand to make the coating to get everything out.
So, it's an interesting, since you mentioned it, you talk about toothpaste, right? So, a little bit off the topic and I'll get back to your question. A few years back, Colgate wanted to increase its sales of toothpaste. And they really couldn't figure out what to do. So what they did was they increased the size of the hole of the top so that you squeeze out more toothpaste at one time as compared to other times. So there are different ways of achieving emptying out the entire content. But then this at the moment is more useful when we talk about your mayonnaise bottles or your sauce bottles, where let's say you have a glass bottle which you can't squeeze and remove, and you've got to keep shaking it all the way down. So when you apply this coating inside glass as well, for example, it would be able to completely remove the contents. With toothpaste, well, the advantage is that even when this coating is applied inside, and you want to, at the end of the day, we all squeeze out those last few drops, right? The coating is still able to withstand that abrasion or that force, and it's self-healing, so it ensures that at the end of it does not have anything stick inside even after you roll it and move it. Not completely answering your question, but then it still has the potential to be used in toothpaste and those types of products as well.
But actually those who sell the contents, they should actually be more interested not to use that, since they could potentially sell more if not everything is taken out.
But then as a consumer, like, okay, I'm a very, very typical Asian, Indian consumer, and unless and until that sauce bottle, be it plastic or anything, is completely empty, trust me, I'll be pouring water, circulating it, and moving it. And a lot of Asia thinks like me, and they think like that, and I'm very glad that people in Europe and UK and North America are understanding this concept of zero wastage and emptying out contents as well. So, but I don't think companies should be skeptical about using this.
Sir, you said that firstly there was coating which is applied on glass, and you said it can be applied on polymers as well.
Yeah.
In regards to the same product or separate?
It's the same product, but then they have the companies that we work with, they have two types. Okay, the same product but with slightly different chemistries, because the adherence to glass is going to be different from the adherence to polymer. So they have, so when it comes to glass, they have a certain reservoir that is built into the layer, into the coating system, which ensures that there is enough adherence to the glass as well. So in 90% of the chemistry it's the same for both products, but then there's a minor difference in terms of having the traditional reservoir at the bottom for replenishment in terms of for the glass part of it.
From the end user, because I'm not the plastic manufacturer, but then I understand that zero waste is some kind like introduced for a while, for a certain time, and there will be some like oil resistant or something like this. So slippery coating will make it significantly different from what they try to say that it's the zero, or it will come like a same performance.
So, okay, now zero wastage that has been there for so many years is more of a social sort of practice that we have adopted, where we know the value of waste, we know that at the end of the day wastage is not good. So it's a lot more socially that it's being driven by. But when you have, especially for very thick products, very viscous products, and you have the option of using a coating which is not going to commercial, a more run-of-the-mill kind of product. So it is, we believe that it is going to be used a lot more.
Yeah, you mentioned in the beginning different types of coatings, and so you focused on non-slip coating. But are there any other sort of coatings which would have similar sort of potentials in terms of market growth and so on, which you could shortly highlight?
Right. So, okay, now this slippery coating that we spoke about is one particular type that is being developed by 3 companies in the United States. Within this itself, there are 2 to 3 other variants which are more specific in their application, which not so multi-purpose, which are also classified as slippery coatings. So, well, we haven't studied them in that much detail, but the fact that those coatings are not as multi-purpose as the ones that we saw, the potential in terms of commercial value, etc., is not as high as compared to the existing these slippery coatings that I just spoke about. Again, those different types are still under R&D test. There are a couple of products which are being developed by the University of Oklahoma, and at the same time there is one more university in the Northeast which is trying to develop an alternative or another variant of slippery coatings. The thing is, once you get the concept of slippery coatings, okay, the entire, why is it being used, it's not very hard to develop variants. So at the moment, in fact, the 3 companies that we have been working with, there is a sort of overlap in terms of their technology, and at the same time there is some patent issue going on as well, because company A feels that, hey, this is my technology, etc. So once you get the concept, it's not very difficult to manufacture similar types of products. So you are going to see a lot of variants out there in the market.
You mentioned to spray. So after spraying, does it need curing or what is that?
It does require curing, but not as intensive as it is for certain other types. Because of the fact, okay, look, I'm not very sure about what the exact chemistry is, okay, but from what I understand, the chemistry is simple enough that the curing time is not going to be very fast. And this is again based on the videos that we have seen provided by the company and their test results.
Please consider
Sorry?
This is considered reactive.
No, it's not exactly considered reactive as such, because it has been proven to be chemically inert, or it doesn't react with the substrate. But to ensure that it adheres well to the surface, it does require a little bit of curing. That's the reason for the curing part, not the reactiveness.
So, sorry, I want to ask, with regards to plastics, any specific plastics that, sorry, I'm Daryl from Super.
Sure.
Yeah, any specific plastic types can stick to or not stick to? For example, polyamides as well as polypropylenes.
So, in the FMCG industry, the focus was more on polyethylene and polyamides. I'm not very sure right now whether this can be taken a few steps further, polypropylene or any other types of C3 derivatives or C4 derivatives yet. But I'm very sure that for polyethylene, all types of HDPE, LDPE and LDPE, and the various grades of polyamide, not just 6 and 66, the others as well, this one is compatible. This one, I need to check this because I'm sorry about that, I get very confused between hydrophobic and hydrophilic. Okay, I'll just check this on my laptop and I'll get back to you. I'm sitting right next to you.
So if there are no questions, let's thank Mr. Nikhil. Yes,
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you. So the next speaker is Mr. Simon Clark from Clariant. He has more than 25 years experience in plastics, and he got gained expertise in marketing, strategy development, change management, global business management. And so with this vast experience, looking forward to this talk on turning more into less.
Within Clariant. I've been with Clariant 19 years, so LinkedIn tells me, and so I'm very proud of that. I've been lucky enough to be in Asia Pacific for around about 14 years. I've lived in Taiwan, I've lived in Jakarta, in Indonesia, and now I'm based in Switzerland. And I miss the warm weather. So I will not complain. And I think it's very amazing that this is winter time in Thailand and it's still 30 degrees. Winter time in Switzerland is -10, sometimes more. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about something we call HiFormer, which is Clariant's brand name for liquid colorants. What I'd like to try to go through today is just a little bit about Clariant, where we are today. We are 4 business areas, having around about 17,500 employees, and in the mid-50s of countries that we're in today. We have, as we say, 4 business units, and the one that we are part of is plastics and coatings. And in here we have pigments, additives, and the division that I work for is Masterbatches. What is critical here is that we're a very global company, but we're also a very local company. And as you can see, that in Asia Pacific, we have production facilities, and we also have sales facilities. Okay, so one of the areas that we have here, Patong in Thailand, where we have, it's one of our largest facilities in Asia Pacific. I think the facility is around 20,000 square meters ish, and it covers a multitude of applications. And it also has one of our liquid facilities for laboratory and production facilities. So, what is liquid master batch? Yeah, you know, Clariant, 6-7 years ago, we purchased a company called Wright Systems, and Wright Systems within themselves in North America were a very established business, and what this enabled us to do was to have a balanced approach to the market. Yeah, so which really enhanced our technology. One of the interesting things about this is that it's really important that we talk about LVT, liquid vehicle technology. Okay, so sometimes people think liquid is water. Yeah, and it's not. This technology is pretty unique, and we're going to run through a little video to explain a little bit more detail about what it is. But to Clariant, it's a science. Yeah, it's a science. It's something that is quite unique. We're not the only company that has liquid colorants around the world, but what we do have is the technology. Yeah, and the technology to be able to suspend the colorants within the system, yeah, across a multitude of resin, which is quite unique to our business. So what I would like to do, I would like to play you a little video, and the video within itself explains a little bit more in detail about the difference of how liquid colorants are made, what it's all about, and then I'll just drill down into a little bit more detail about what all this means. Okay, so hopefully this works.
High Former, bringing life to plastics and plastics to life. With our High Former liquid master batches system, we help to optimize a multitude of application fields, from personal care, food and beverage, household, over appliances, garden and leisure, industrial applications, to construction and toys. The technology covers a broad range of plastic manufacturing processes. We explore innovative and sustainable dimensions in terms of performance, flexibility, and material savings, together with brand owners and plastics processors, to design products that make the difference, simultaneously saving time, costs, and energy. Converse is the name of the first of 3 process phases. Together with all stakeholders, we define the parameters of the project. A challenge for coloring plastics is the separation of pigment particles from each other. In pigment powder, forces acting between the microscopically small particles make them stick together like tiny magnets. Pigment particles group together to form aggregates, which in turn combine into larger agglomerates. To obtain optimal color properties, pigment particles must be uniformly and homogeneously dispersed. Additives help to separate the particles and keep them from agglomerating again. In Clariant liquid master batches, pigment particles form small pigment aggregates and are very finely dispersed. This means that more particles can reflect light, resulting in the same color intensity like granular master batches while using less master batches. That way, liquid master batches make a sustainable contribution to saving raw materials. Another advantage of liquid master batches is the precise dosing. Granules can interlock or get stuck in the feeder, resulting in an irregular flow. Liquids can be dosed with outstanding accuracy, enabling a perfect reproducibility. In the co-create phase of the High Former process, we design the ideal liquid master batch system using our liquid vehicle technology and define the matching dosing and handling system according to the specific requirements of the customers. To create the liquid master batch, first several components are mixed together to create the oil-based liquid carrier. For example, a processing agent that speeds up its melting process. a dispersion agent to assist the dispersion in the target polymer, and a binder to hold everything together. In the second step, pigments or dyes are added to the liquid carrier. Thorough dispersing ensures a fine particle size distribution. The finished liquid master batch is filled into ready-to-use pails, drums, or intermediate bulk containers. But the implementation into a molding process requires more. Clariant offers customized solutions for a maximum benefit with a short implementation period, the optimal liquid master batch, and the perfect matching dosing and handling system. The final phase of the high former process is consequently named complete. Clariant's global team implements the system on site, trains the customer, and makes sure that everything runs smoothly, delivering long-term profitability. Several types of pump systems can be used. One being the peristaltic pump system. The tube assembly is connected to the container with the liquid master batch. The container is then placed on the pail holder. The tube is clamped between the rollers of the peristaltic pump head. The rollers pump the liquid master batch through the tube to the injection nozzle, which is placed into the injection molding machine. The liquid master batch is added to the polymer directly above the screw. The molten plastic is injected between a mold cavity and core. After the plastic cools and solidifies, the core moves away as the mold halves open and the part is ejected. In combination with the liquid carrier, the peristaltic pump system is ideal for frequent color changes and smaller volumes. It means less cleaning efforts, lower costs, reduced scrap, and a higher productivity. Large manufacturing lots with limited color changes require positive displacement pump systems to ensure a high efficiency. Clariant's high former process is a holistic system of liquid master batches, tailor-made technical equipment, and experienced service for a multitude of plastics applications with high performance and sustainability requirements, benefiting brand owners, plastics processors, and end customers.
Okay, so in a nutshell, now you know what I know. Okay, so what is this? Why is this of value to me? One of the very key areas here is about reduced letdown concentration. Okay, so consumers, everybody that stands in this room, is driving cost out of products. Everybody wants something that's more economic. Everybody wants more value. And traditionally, letdown ratios have been 2, 3, 4%, sometimes more. And when we talk about liquid vehicle technology, the technology enables us to concentrate the master batch more in a liquid format. And because we have more concentration, and the way that we blend the material together enables us to reduce the letdown concentration. And we talk about distribution of color. I remember a long time ago when I started in this industry, and there was some hand cream that was kind of like a transparent blue, and the letdown concentration was 10%. Yeah, because to get good color distribution. Yeah, and today, that business has changed. Yeah, and as we saw in the video, the delivery system that the Clariant is using is very, very, very accurate. Yeah, and it's very consistent. One of the interesting things here is the customer feedback. We just did a trial in India, and it was on a closure, and the company was very, very skeptical. Yeah, it was liquid colours. What does this mean to me? The art is in the test. Yeah, I can stand here and talk to you, but the art is in the test. And the customer's comment was, wow, that looks like 20% more value. The shine on the product was more value. What is really important here is we talk about heat history. In traditional master batch processing, we have to mix the materials at high speed in heat, and then we have to put it through an extruder, which is a twin screw extruder with a very harsh profile. So we really grind the material. This is like making a smoothie. Yeah, it's very, very, very different. It's different the way that we approach. So, for example, fluorescence. Yeah, fluorescence has inherently been a problem within the industry. But because of the way that we make things today, and because of the liquid technology that we have, it's very different. And one of the key things as well, you say, well, okay, what about food and beverage? What about water? Because of the technology that we're using, it's compliant. Yeah, it's compliant. We have materials today that, you know, sometimes you have to do a taint test or a smell. Yeah, we have formulations today that don't have that. So we're very, very organized in the way that our liquid vehicle technology works. And one of the advantages that we have in Asia Pacific is that we have a facility here in Bangkok. Yeah, that is able to service the local market. So we talk about cost saving and affordability and letdown concentrations. And one of the key things that we have within this liquid vehicle technology is changeover time. Okay, so it's about how to improve the yield. How do I get more product out of my production facility? We did a test on a jerry can that makes the food oil. And this is, I don't know, weighs about 3-4 kilos. The average changeover time from one colour to another colour was about 3 hours. It was about 3 hours. With the tests that we did, after 20 minutes, you could push one colour through to another colour. It was pretty good. And so, from a yield perspective, we save the customer time and money, which then makes in turn the machines more effective. One of the key things as well is minimum inventory. You know, a lot of people, when they use traditionally, they use master batch. There's pallets of material everywhere, and space is always a problem. And at the back of the room, and we can show you later, we have small pails. Yeah, and so from a stacking or space perspective, this is saving me. This saves time. This saves money. But the key is here is the technical support. Okay, one of the things that I learned within this business is it's about showing people how to do something, working with the people, working on the shop floor, teaching them how to do something. And what's really critical to success is having this on-site technical support. And in Asia Pacific, we have a group of superstars that are able to do this, and really work with the guys that are running the machine, yeah, and really show them how to do something. And we talk about reproducibility and accuracy is because of the delivery system that we're using, makes it much, much more accurate. So we talk about staying ahead of the curve, okay? And Clariant's approach today to the market is very balanced. Yeah, so maybe sometimes it's master batch, maybe sometimes it's high formula, maybe sometimes it's something else. So one of the advantages that Clariant has is being able to target multiple segments, yeah, across a lot of industries. Sometimes people think, well, okay, my high former is only suitable for transparent and translucent colours. It's not the case. Yeah. At the back of the room, we just bring a crate, yeah, and we make garden furniture. Yeah, we make storage boxes. We make all sorts of colours, whether it be transparent or opaque. because of the vehicle technology system that we're using, enables us to really highly formulate the product and then be able to dose this at very reasonable concentrations. So it's not unusual for us to be able to get to 2, 3, and sometimes 4% in letdown concentration. Yeah, traditionally in time gone by, to have this at such high concentrations in liquid master batch, we have what's called screw slip. And what this actually means is that the material rides on the top of the screw. It doesn't go down the barrel. Today, that's not the case because we really work with viscosity and how do we blend the material together. And what's really interesting here is that now we're in a position to work with the key stakeholders in organizations. Yeah? So we're able to work with brand owners, we're able to work with designers, and we're able to work with the production people who are running the business. And today, we focus on something called coloration cost. Yeah? And coloration cost is how much does it cost me to color my part? How much does it cost me to make one bottle, or one cap, or one something? And this is something that we really work with because in the co-create stage, this is where all the decisions are made. And then the final, what we talk about is complete, is to show everybody, well, this is how we do it. This is what we do. A little bit about the map of where Clariant is today with our high former facilities. We are in Italy, 3 sites in North America, South America. But the key is that in Asia Pacific we have 3 facilities. We have one in the south of China, in Guangzhou. We have in Singapore, where we have our global technology center. This is where a lot of the developments are taking place today. We have some challenges in the market, and what I would like to know is where can we go? Yeah, where can we go? One of the innovations that Clariant is turning around today, which kind of separates us from our competition, is that we are working more today on EBM. Yeah, so traditionally this was not the case, and we're looking for strategic partners to be able to further commercialize products within the marketplace. So EBM as a market objective is absolutely a goal for us. Yeah, and we're having very, very, very good success. So this is where the Singaporean Technology Center comes in because this is where the developments are taking place, and it's taking place in Asia Pacific. And then we talked a little bit locally about Bangkok, and in Bangkok we have a laboratory facility and we have a production facility. So we're pretty close to people in Asia, and I think we cover most of our bases in the growth areas of where we're looking. So to summarize a little bit about where we are, we talked about cost efficient. You know, I have a lot of conversations today which talks about cost. Yeah, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? Yeah, and what Clariant is offering today is a balance. Unfortunately, we don't sell insurance policies, and so if you ask me which route are we going to take, is it master batch, high former, we're going to have a discussion with you. We're going to have a discussion because we want to go down a specific route that puts us both in a win-win situation. If we're talking to a brand owner, then we want to talk to a brand owner that wants to be innovative. Yeah? But the key to all of this is we want to be able to understand what you want. What is your goal? What is your target? How do you want to get there? Cost, for sure, is a factor, but it's not the only factor. Yeah? There's lots of other things that can contribute to making a business more successful. We talk about reducing net working capital. One of the key things is, and I talked a little bit about before, is yield improvement. If I can make a customer's machine better, have faster turnaround time, yeah, that within itself is an improvement. And the key with the material and how we mix it is that it's no heat history. Okay, and this is really, really critical because then you begin to get the full value of the pigment. So in pearlescent colours, for example, they look brighter, they look cleaner, because the materials are not damaged. Yeah, so you're not putting them through this very hard process through a twin screw extruder or a heated blending process. So it gives you more value for your money. It stands out on the supermarket shelf. And what's really cool about this is that the material doesn't stick. It doesn't stick onto the screw. Yeah? So it is not uncommon that when you put our liquid vehicle material into an extruder, for example, it brings out a load of carbonized material because it's actually acting as a cleaning agent. Yeah, because sometimes when you change from one colour to another colour, then you shut down and then you start your machine up again, you get carbonized particles. Yeah? With Hyforma, you don't get this. That's why you can change over colours faster. So it's really important to understand that it's actually improving your throughput. So in a real snapshot, that's a little bit about liquid colour technology. We have some examples behind on the shelf, and I'm happy to take any questions on Hyforma, and I hope that you enjoyed that small presentation. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Any questions? I'll start off with one. So your title says more, you turn more into less. So which is more and which is less?
The reason why we type it the way that we do, because traditionally we are using higher letdown concentrations. Today we're using less concentration, and we're having more value from the pigments that we use because of the blending methods that we do. So less concentration, more value for them.
Most of in the video specifically, the way in which the process happens seems to be something that only certain companies, certain injection molding companies with a certain amount of size and capital, etc., would be able to handle. What about a lot of smaller injection molding companies which are there, 9 dozen in Vietnam and in Malaysia? Can they, let's use a crude word, can they afford this kind of a system? A, and B, how would you try and penetrate these markets? I'm talking about it from a more market perspective, not so much technology.
Great question. Actually, that's our focus. Yeah, our focus is the small, medium enterprise businesses. Yeah, where they have maybe 8 to 10 injection molds. Yeah, or 15 extrusion blow molding facilities. The technology is not expensive. Yeah, because as a business, Clariant has to support this. Yeah, Clariant has to support this. And providing there's enough rice in both of our molds, then there is no restriction. Yeah, we have to obviously apply common sense. Yeah, and we have to be honest with the converter. But if it makes sense, and the converter wants to change, and is willing to change, then this for us is a no-brainer. You know, I've been in customers before when they clearly told me, say, liquid colour, are you kidding me? There's no way that this is going to cross my threshold. Have a nice day. I can't change that attitude. Yeah? But with a company that is willing to be innovative and is willing to try something a little bit different, then this is the company that we want to work with. Yeah? And that's when I talk about a balanced approach. Maybe master batch is the solution, and we go down that avenue. Or maybe the Hyforma is a solution. Yeah? Because the changes that we make to the machines, you can either run liquid or solid. Yeah? So you're able to do both. So we don't change a production process. We just give a manufacturer an option. Yeah? So we make some small changes to the machine, which we support. And then the key to all of this is our technical specialists. The technical specialists go to the converter. They sit and work with the people that are running the machines. Yeah. So yes, we have the people in Singapore and in Thailand in the laboratories making the material. But the key is the boys and girls on the shop floor and working with those people. So I think to answer your question, if we take Vietnam as an example, there's lots of small companies that's wanting to grow. Yeah, and those are the companies that we want to focus on. Yeah, but that's not to say that we need to miss out the other guys. Yeah, there just has to be a balance, and that's what we're trying to find at the moment. Okay.
You have given a lot of advantages and shown many advantages. Are there any disadvantages to this technology?
No. It depends. Yeah. And that's again a great question because we are in a position now to offer two products. Yeah. So if we feel that a particular path is not going to be suited for high foreman, then we stop. But we have to ask the right questions. So if we come to a converter or to a brand owner, then forgive us. We have a lot of questions. And those questions will determine which path that we take. Yeah? And then we avoid disasters right at the end. Great question, yeah. One of the things that Paris is working on now is to have longer suspension, because obviously gravity takes over. Yeah. So at one point in time, you will start to see a separation, and the way that we come around all of this, we call this re-agitation. Yeah. So before people come to use the material, we have a small blender which turns. Yeah, so then you put the pail onto the blender, it turns, it mixes, and away you go again. So when we talk about shelf life and how long does this product last, it doesn't turn into something that becomes unusable. Yeah. So what we do, we mix. So before we use, we mix. So this is why we're talking about a process change. Yeah, the way that we do things in just a slightly different way. Yeah. If you think about it, traditionally the way people have done things, and I've seen it myself, is that if you mix the master batch with the resin, sometimes I've seen it mixed by hand. Yeah, I've seen it mixed by hand, and then the vacuum is put into a bucket and it's sucked up into the machine. Yeah. This is because the technology and the delivery system that we have today takes all of that problem away. Yeah. So when we talk about separation, we actually talk about re-agitation. Re-agitation is when we kind of pre-mix the material before we put it into the machine. I don't know, does that answer your question?
You mentioned that this technology basically is very good to mix different colors. It's like an additive to the master sort of base material. So I'm just wondering, wouldn't that be also advantages for other additives rather than just color? So wouldn't that be possible to add other additives into the master, sort of solid master batch, and achieve a better distribution and homogeneous distribution?
Sure.
Are you working on that sort of
Sure. So, for example, you mentioned film applications. We have additives. We're working on a liquid additives portfolio, and where you get more surface coverage and more consistent surface coverage. So yeah, this is something we're working on. So you're right. So it's not just colour; it's also additive as well.
So this is out, but just I remember it's like you said it was mixed on oil base. So is there any chance of weakening that base?
No, traditionally, products are made on mineral oil, and what we actually are working with is a series of products. Yeah. So, and mineral oil is a small part of that product, but no. This is why we talk about liquid vehicle technology. One of the advantages that we work with is this encapsulation. Yeah. So you don't get migration. So sometimes there's a misperception of the word oil. Yeah. And but this is why we talk about liquid vehicle technology. That basically doesn't migrate. Yeah, so this is why that we can put it into products such as water and other things. Yeah, so or piping, for example, that runs water, etc. So it doesn't migrate out. Yeah, time gone by, it was difficult, but today's a new day.
Any more questions? So let's thank Simon. So we are a little bit ahead of time schedule. I think for the afternoon session we'll come back at the indicated time, 2:30. Yeah, 2:30 p.m. So we have lunch in 2:1.
Lunch is at 2:1, but I think lunch is actually 12:30. So yeah, it will be our time. Okay, those who want to visit the shows, you can visit the shows. The tag behind, that's the time to go into the show. You need not have to register. You can just give me the tag. Okay, so you may want to go to the room to wait for lunch, or there are some display here that the parents will be here to answer all your questions as well. All right, that's all for the morning.
Thank you. See you later.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
get him to adjust it.
I'll get you.
Yes. No, but actually, spin off on the side.
Good.
Oh, it's mechanical.
So maybe it works out.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah, it should work out here.
Oh, yeah, I know. I've been since 1999. I was with your brain.
No, I'm
2009 in Spain. I know many of the old timers there.
Where is your jacket?
You're more than welcome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we get it. I see you.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
Run out of season. No. Yes. You can hear from my accent. Yes.
So I
Yeah, in Germany we have to talk, we have direct before a few years back. So basically this we are so that we have PT for a lot of applications. The PT instead of
So you never saw an island.
so at that time I think Clarion was not really big. They had some.
Let's go for lunch. It's very cold in here. You freeze your,
But how's the price compared to this type of beauty? Much more expensive.
High performance, bringing life to plastics and plastics to life. With our high-performance liquid master batches system, we help to optimize a multitude of application fields, from personal care, food and beverage, household, appliances, garden and leisure, industrial applications, to construction and toys.
Because we see a lot in
The technology covers a broad range of plastic manufacturing processes. We explore innovative and sustainable inventions to improve performance, flexibility, and material savings together with
I mean, Singapore, so we can
simultaneously save time, cost, and commerce is the base of the first of three process phases. Together with all stakeholders,
So for packaging, what's all the products to do? I guess there's more plastic.
a challenge for empowering plastic
which is true.
rich particles from China. Pigment powder forces actively treated microbes to release small particles that stick together like tiny magnets. Pigment particles group together to form aggregates, which in turn combines to larger agglomerates. To attain optimal color properties, pigment particles must be uniform, homogeneously dispersed. Additives help to separate the particles and keep them from agglomerating together.
Yeah, for our
ไม่ได้เดี๋ยวเราจะมาเก็บกล้องตัวนี้ออกก็คือลูกค้าต้องการเหมือนจับภาพบรรยากาศตัวนี้จะเป็นภาพรวมส่วนก็คือจับภาพส่วนสำคัญคือแล้วแต่ทางทีมงาน
ข้างในสลับข้างนอก
so that you can mix it to the PT.
เดี๋ยวนี้ถ้าเป็นช่วงงานประชุมนะคะก็คือจะอยู่ในห้องประชุม
So
ช่องสองก็คือ
then it's actually like an additive, right?
ตัวนั้น
That sounds good.
ประมาณช่วยกันส่วนที่เป็น
So